Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long-Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa. Today, we have Team Canada International Taekwondo Federation athlete and University of Alberta kinesiology student, Anikah Woodrow. We will discuss Taekwondo in regards to weight cutting and being a competitive athlete, time management in regards to school, work, training, and life balance, and going on vacation. Anikah Woodrow is a phenomenal person, very hard worker. I think she will go far in life, and she has really mastered the craft of time management, and she continues to prove to the world that she is very much capable. It is an amazing conversation, and I'm excited for all of you to hear it. Everyone, welcome. Wow. I cannot believe every time somebody new comes on, I'm still so baffled. I'm like, wow, why do I deserve this? Why? We're at episode 58.
Which is insane. Congratulations.
Yeah. And each one takes me 6-8 hours for everything.
That's crazy.
But this is worth it. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on the Long-Term Podcast. Anikah Woodrow, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am 23 years old recently. I started Taekwondo back when I was 8 years old. So I've been doing Taekwondo for about 15 years now. I'm going into my 5th year of university, 4th of kinesiology. So I will be graduating this year. That's super exciting. I've been on Team Canada twice for Taekwondo, ITF Taekwondo. And I've gone to Finland and Germany for that. Aside from competing and training and everything, aside from my busy schedule outside, when I have free time, I like to go to the mountains. I like hiking, taking my dog out.
Benji. So the 5 tenets really fascinate me. You got courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and the indomitable spirit.
Exactly.
Now, of those 5, which one do you think is the most important?
To me or in general?
Both.
Okay. I think indomitable spirit is my personal one. That's the most important. On a Taekwondo scale, I would say self-control probably is. Indomitable spirit, just being strong in mind, I think is just something that you really need to take with you throughout your entire life, not just in Taekwondo. Being able to tell yourself that you can do these things, and then helping other people and doing all of this. But then the self-control aspect is just being able to control your emotions, but also control your techniques. In a sparring sense, you don't always want to go for the knockout, get disqualified.
Yeah, I think being able to hold off a little bit for the perfect opportunity to come up, instead of just giving in your emotions and going through with that move, instead of just planning, and that patience. Totally. Certainly self-control is imperative if you want to win a match or even extend that to life. Maybe you shouldn't eat that, because later on that's going to affect you. And that indomitable spirit is things are going to happen in life, and you really need to have that mental grit and that soul from within to really drive you to keep going. Hey, and you have to I'm thinking of those really tough days where you just have to clench your teeth and get through, power through.
Totally.
And it's really beautiful when it all comes together.
Yeah.
So with Taekwondo, how do you approach weight cutting in a way that maintains your health and performance?
So I've been doing weight cuts ever since I was 16 years old. So quite some time. I've developed a little bit of a curated program for myself. that being said, it is an ongoing process as I develop my athletic career and like I go to the gym more. So it's like developing things that work for me. And before I like get into like kind of what I do, weight cutting is by no means healthy, like at all. That's just, it's not sustainable. It's not really good for your body because you're really putting it in a place where it shouldn't be. But it's part of my sport. It's what I do. So what I do is 2 months out, I start thinking about cutting weight. And this can entail just like training a little bit more or just like getting onto the trajectory of eating a lot healthier. But then 1 month out, that's when I actually start my cut. So the first week, the only amount of carbs that I really allow myself is a little bit of rice. The second week, the only carb that I'll have is like a plain rice cake if I'm, okay for weight at that point. And then 2 weeks out, no more carbs. So it's just like a very high fiber, so lots of veggies and a protein diet. The two main things with cutting weight is just like you're on a calorie deficit, but then you're also increasing your training. So you want to lose that weight. Another big thing with cutting weight is just like the mindset. You have to like have the willpower to do it because it's a very hard thing. For the performance aspect of it, I think it's really important like when you plan to have your meals. So when I go to the gym or I plan on doing weight training that day, I'll do it in the morning and I'll do it after a breakfast. And then I'll do it in a way so that I can have lunch after so I can refuel properly somewhat after weight training. And then before my Taekwondo training, I will have like a little bit of a bigger meal because I typically burn like at least 500 calories at those training sessions. So you want to have more sustenance because I typically don't eat after the Taekwondo training session because you need to lose the weight, right? So it's just like that balance of figuring out when you want to eat your meals so you can kind of have fuel for your workouts, but also slightly refuel after. And then another big aspect of it is just like consistently staying hydrated up until the point where you might potentially have to do a water cut, which is not fun at all. It's like a condensed one, it would be like 8 liters, 6 liters, 4 liters, 2 liters, nothing. It's not super fun, but.
And you definitely need to access your indomitable spirit for that endeavor. Hey, because you said a month or two in advance, you plan it out, and you need to ensure that when you do show up for the training regiment, you need to section off this portion of the meal to be able to coincide with the training. Because if you have it too early, then you're going to be feeling hungry during the training. If you have it too late, then it's going to be too close to bedtime and you're going to have absolutely no energy when it comes to the training.
Totally.
Now, there is a lot of like mental fog when that happens. Hey, and like as you said, it isn't the healthiest thing. I think for the average person, that's just for a person that wants to lose weight, definitely and they're already healthy, right? It's just unimaginable.
Yeah.
But to be able to get the weight to hit your weight class, you need to make some sacrifices, and that's creating a plan, a strategy to be able to get from point A to point B. And that's just, there's so much to that. Hey, and I'm sure it's given you since 16 you've been planning you've been engaging in weight cutting. But yeah, I think even in bodybuilding, a lot of bodybuilders do it. And while you see that, oh, this is like the bygone kind of premise of bodybuilding is to be healthy, and you see all these people that do look great, and then even with fighting, with Taekwondo and the different fighting classes, there is that downside, hey, where you have to follow the rules. And I think that's, not everything's gonna be perfect, but yeah. What does a typical training look like for you when preparing for a competition?
When preparing for a competition, I like to train weights at least 2 to 3 times a week. And then I like to add in like a plyometric training as well. So a lot of like bouncy hoppy stuff, because Taekwondo is a really big like leg power sport. So that's a really important aspect. And that can be added into like one of the weight training days that I do. So if I hit legs, say, I can do plyometrics that day as well, or add some into that as well. And then I'll do 3 to 4 Taekwondo training sessions a week. And then I like to also add a little bit more cardio on top of that. That's not Taekwondo. And my go-to is running. So I'll either do like a long distance run or sprints. Because for sparring, you do need really good cardio. So that's like typically what I do. And then
you ever run a marathon?
Do I want to?
Would you? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sign up. It's August.
I don't know if I'm prepared for August.
No, we go on with your story. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. And then like 1 to 2 weeks out from competition, I like to pull back a little bit, just so I have that a little bit of like tapering period, so I can recover my body in like to peak for competition. You also want to rest your body a little bit prior to going into competition if you do like such heavy training before that. Injuries come up, so.
You had mentioned that you are aversive to rest days. Why?
I just like really suck at giving them to myself, honestly, is the real answer.
You feel guilty?
Sorry?
You feel guilty?
Kind of, yeah. I feel like I'm just like, I always want to be moving and doing things. And so if I don't do something, I just feel not fulfilled in some way. I'm trying to be better with that, and just like even like an active rest day, so just like a walk out is fine. I'm starting to like make myself think that that's okay. But whenever I like don't do something like that burns a lot more calories, then I'm just like,
I feel that whenever I'm just having a rest day, and I don't fuck with rest days. Like I don't. It's always something you could do, whether it be stretching, whether it be like mindfulness. Like there's something you can do for the body, for the mind. Now, like when people say rest day, I just think like sitting around watching movies, doing nothing. But I'm sure your rest days are actually still getting you closer to the goal. Hey, you're not just laying there.
Totally. And I think that's where I need to like kind of switch my mindset, is like, this is actually helping me more than it's like doing any harm. But it's just like a hard thing to just like stop for a second.
Well, that's kind of the pitfall with high achievers such as yourself, hey, is you're so used to this high demand, high chaotic kind of environment that as soon as you give yourself some time to relax, it's like you're not in that hyper state, and then your body looks for it. It's like, what's going on? Am I supposed to just relax? And that's, I guess that's what in even Taekwondo, that's what they teach you too, that self-control aspect, right?
Yeah.
Which is something we all could work on. But so what do you do to relax yourself? Because you're a person that is involved in weight cutting, which is just a long process. And there's so many things that you need to be able to master, and a lot of self-control, a lot of strategy, a lot of different techniques that works for you. And it has been evident with the achievements that you have accomplished. Now, on the days where you need to rest and you need to be able to kind of zoom out, what do you do?
Great question. In the grand scheme of things, let's say I don't have work let's say it's like a full rest day. I don't have any trainings that I have to attend. I don't have work. I don't have school when I'm in school. Let's say a Sunday. I would sleep in and make myself like a nice breakfast. If it's summer, I'll eat it outside. Take my dog for a walk. And then because I'm just like always constantly going, sometimes like it feels like my life just kind of gets messy, and I like set some other things to the side that I don't necessarily have time for, like at home. So that could be like actually cleaning a little bit more and then taking time to do those things instead. And then although that might not really seem like rest, it's doing things that needed to get done that I didn't have as a priority before. So I'm like, I'm still doing things. And then the walk with my dog is like the active rest part of my physical activities, like aspect.
That's great. That's a lovely response. You need to give yourself some more grace. You know, you just. I think you'll go far. I just know it. And definitely, I think the thing that high achievers need to work on is just giving yourself that rest day, hey, and not making sure that progress isn't always the priority, because that there is progress and peace. Now, you know, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, totally.
Can you share some of the biggest challenges you faced as a competitive Taekwondo athlete and how you overcame them?
I'd say there's 3 big ones. So injuries for sure is one of them. Time management, and then just like overcoming losses. So to touch on injuries, like a lot of my injuries are just chronic ones. I've had a couple concussions in my life. And so most recently, the concussion that I had, obviously can't really train too much after that. And I was training to go to Finland after that one. So I had to take a step back for like 2 weeks from my training just so I wasn't dizzy when I would try and do a kick. So that is definitely a challenge when you have to pull back in injuries like that. But my most common injury is the one in my right hip. It's pretty chronic. I'm convinced I have a labral tear. Still have yet to check it out because I don't know if I want to know.
Get that checked out.
I know.
Go after this.
I'm in kinesiology and I'm not even seeing a physio. You know, I should really take some advice that I'm learning. But yeah, it's just like, it's hard being a person that like enjoys sparring so much, and then when I go to do a high kick, let's say, it like feels like my hip is ripping off. Like it just hurts so bad. And then at that point, I just like, I really need to use self-control and focus on maybe punching more or shifting my focus to like boxing drills more and take a rest from my legs and give them that chance to like have that little bit of recovery. And then also doing things such as like strengthening in the hip for the muscles and the tissues and foam rolling and stuff like that. Or switching more of like a sparring focus to do more patterns. So it's like not as taxing for my hips. The time management is definitely like a balance between my training schedule, work, school, life, you know, because I'd like to have a social life too. So just like balancing all of those things and making sure I prioritize where I want to spend my time, which I think I've been able to develop, but it definitely was hard to find that program because quite honestly, like my parents are like, we never see you anymore. So like out of 7 days a week, I'm probably home aside from sleeping like 24 hours. So that's that.
I know. I feel that.
Yeah, it is crazy. And then overcoming losses. So the big thing with that is just like not stopping after. Like nobody likes losing. Nobody.
I'm sorry?
Nobody likes losing, right?
No one likes losing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think the big thing with that is like taking it as a learning experience, which I think is really important. And one of the things that you can do, like if you compete on a world level, they like live stream it. So you can go back and watch, which watching yourself is super painful sometimes. But you watch it and you study it and you're like, why didn't I do this here? But then you grow from it. You're like, okay, I did that this time. That was okay. But I'm going to do A, B, and C next time. I want to train like this to do this. And just like not stopping, I think is the biggest thing. If you lose after a competition, some people take that a little bit too much to heart. And like, I get it, like losing sucks. Let's put it bluntly. Like, it's not enjoyable by any means. But I think overcoming that and being able to bounce back and learn from it and be a better athlete or person after it is just like so important.
I think losing is something we all need to be able to absorb properly, because if a person loses and they just call themselves a piece of shit and then they look in the mirror and they go, I'll never amount to anything. For the next time, of course you're going to lose. I mean, you're going into the battle with a losing mentality. But if it's recorded, you go back into the replays and you see what went wrong. Okay, maybe that kick wasn't high enough. Oh, my defense wasn't as good. I didn't react in time. Maybe my reaction time isn't as up to date with how I could have been. Maybe that person, was it because I was too anxious? There's all these different variables that you could improve. If you just focus on the loss itself, sure, yeah, like it sucks. You lost. It's a failure. And people are very aversive to failures. But if you come away from that match and you go, okay, I could have, maybe outside of the match, you could have had a better diet. Maybe you got 7 hours of sleep. You could have gotten 8. Was it that talk? Were you just having a fight with your boyfriend, girlfriend? Was it that? Were you not calm with that technique? Did you have enough self-control to be able to maneuver that 4-step combination that you were practicing for 24 hours? Right? There's always something that we can improve on. And if you take that loss and if you do not do anything about it, if you don't take that as a learning lesson and you just quit, you'll never see the full Anikah Woodrow, right? You'll never see that best version of yourself, because I think constantly you look at yourself back a year ago, you just go, whoa, I was so naive. And then if you had quit that time, you lost that time, it's like, then you wouldn't be who you are today to see it through the end. And that's why I tell people, like, okay, you got a bad grade. Okay, sure, this shit, life happened. Okay, it's happened to everyone. There's somebody in that same situation as you, maybe different name, different kind of environments, different timeline maybe, but they're feeling the same emotions as you. Now, either they quit or they didn't. But the person that didn't quit saw it through the end, reveled in glory, right? So with Taekwondo, how has it influenced your personal life? Like, what kind of values do you take away from it and you apply into, a Monday morning and you're at your job, or maybe you're studying for school, or maybe you get in a fight with a friend or family member, or, you're just doing some self-work. How does Taekwondo influence that side?
I think just like everything I've learned through Taekwondo has just honestly helped me control myself more and be a better person. Taekwondo is obviously a martial art. Martial art is like a military art, so you're taught discipline. And with that, I think you really learn how to control your emotions, and how to speak. I teach kids, right? And so you learn how to also find different methods on like how to talk to different people and like what works with them. It also like really adds an element of confidence too. So I think doing a martial art and like Taekwondo specifically, and growing up with the people that I grew up with, like I've had my coach since I was 8 years old. Like he is a huge part of my life, and I'm so thankful for that. And I'm so thankful that I have a person like that in my life. And just like all the other people that I have grown up with in Taekwondo, just like I've grown with them. And so you have all of these different things adding to your confidence, which is like a huge part of how you approach things in life, I think. So being able also to take criticism, I think, is a big thing too, how it has like affected just who I am as a person. Criticism in a way of like constructiveness on how to be better in a sport, but then it all, just like all the life lessons as well, and then being able to move on, like move forward and grow with it as well. Like, yeah.
Yeah, you gain confidence because you have succeeded in this facet. You've made a great bonding experience, and you know this role model of yours. Would it be called a coach?
Yeah.
Coach. Okay, your coach since you were 8.
Mm-hmm.
You've gone through so much. You've experienced failure. You've experienced doubt, guilt, shame, and on the other side, you've also experienced the triumph, the victory, that bliss, that cloud 9 of mastering that kick. Now, is there a particular move that you have that you're proud of, that you've put in so much effort in, and you finally came to fruition?
Yeah. I definitely, if you asked me like a year or two ago, I probably would have given it to my higher kicks, but I definitely think I would say a side kick. So just like drilling someone mid abdomen with your heel side kick is probably one of my go-to moves. That people are like, yep, that was a good one.
If you hit an average human being with this move in the head, would they die?
I hope not.
No?
No. Probably knock them out pretty good though.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's that like, knocking people out?
I actually never have knocked anyone out, but I've made people throw up before.
Okay. I think that's even better.
It's a little fun. Adds a little bit of spice.
I've heard, I've been listening to a lot of like UFC fighters, and just like the way they talk about like fighting. It's like an art form, hey?
Totally.
Because like leading up to it, there's so much effort for the weight cutting, for the countless nights and days you're mastering the craft. You're looking at videos, you're talking to people, you're making sure that you're getting adequate sleep, and then it all comes together. And that's why the loss is so heavy, because you've put in an enormous amount of effort, and when it doesn't go through, it's like, okay, like I've literally put in 4 months of my life, or a year. For a lot of people, maybe it took them 3 years to be able to have the courage to join the competition, and then you lose.
Yeah.
Right? But is there can you tell me about kind of the mindset going into a fight? Now, like I've seen some UFC fights, and there's some guys that are like looking like they want to fucking kill the other guy, like looking like absolute just it's like it's from a scene of a horror movie. But then there are also guys that are, and girls that go in there in a fight with zen, and they just are meticulous with their moves. Now, how does that work? Like with you, how do you approach entering a fight?
I really think it depends on the person. So me personally, if I have the time, I will put my headphones in and I'll play my fight playlist to like really get in the zone, and get focused for that match. I don't particularly love talking to a bunch of people before I fight, because I like to stay in the zone and focus on what I'm about to do. That being said, the one person that I like talking to before my fight is my coach. So he'll give me advice on like what he thinks I should do in this next match, and I'll try it out, or something along that line, or he'll like be calming me down or something. But yeah, for me, it's just like I like to be in the moment, and I kind of just like turn off everything outside of that. And then when I'm in the ring, the only other voice that I can hear is my coach yelling at me, like, or not yelling, but like telling me to do different combos or try a different technique. Everything else, like if there's people cheering, if there's anything, like I don't hear it. I hear my coach and that's it, because I'm just like in the moment focusing on the match.
That's beautiful. And like, and then it all comes together, and then that. Can you describe the feeling of victory? Because I've never been in a fight. Like I like to talk a lot of shit, but and I run my mouth, but don't fight me.
Right.
Don't fight me. I that's why I talk. I'm getting connections right now, so hopefully somebody can defend me because I'm a pussy.
Yeah.
You know? Can you tell me what the feeling of victory is like?
So I feel like everyone has like a top 3 favorite feelings in the world, right? One of mine is when the match is over and the center ref grabs the 2 people's gloves and they step back and they raise your arm. Best feeling ever, because it's just like, it's for black belt competition, it's 2 2-minute rounds of sparring with a 1-minute break in between. So the first round, you usually like feel the person out a little bit more, then you have that break, and then the second round you do a little bit more. You add a little bit more spice into it. And it's just like having your glove raised is just like, you did it. Like you trained for this, you put in all that hard work, you took that kick, but then you got back your points.
You fucked that guy up.
Yeah. You're like, I did that. I won.
Yeah.
And so it's just rewarding, I guess.
I've been really pondering on like kind of the struggle. That's why I like to suffer, you know, like it's just because you suffer, struggle.
Totally.
The longer it takes. And then as soon as it all comes together, as soon as you land that move that just establishes your triumph, just cloud 9, hey, and you're in this, like, there's this clip of, you know, Adesanya, the UFC guy. And after a win, he's just super ecstatic. He takes he asked the interviewer or the person holding the mic if he could take the mic, and he goes, "People of Earth, if you could just experience what I'm feeling once in your life, you know, this is amazing. This is great." And I see that with like, I see the videos of like these UFC fighters, these martial artists, these like Taekwondo fighters. That victory, right? It's just when somebody's holding your hand, arm up, and you're just reveling in the glory because everything came together. Nothing worth having comes easy, right?
Totally.
And you revel in that glory and just soak it up, and then it's time for the next one.
Yeah,
because it's so addicting.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's truly remarkable, kind of how that happens to be. I wish people only knew what that feeling was like, hey? Because I feel like a lot of people do not know, like the sacrifices that you've made, like not showing up to that party, like not engaging in that activity where you want to. Don't get me wrong. Like a lot of people ask me, like, hey, you should come out this time. You should do this. But then it's like, no, I gotta do this.
Yeah,
like, I gotta do this thing because I'm like charging up for that moment of just euphoria.
Totally.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. When I was training for Finland, so this like last year, I didn't drink any alcohol from like February up until competition. So the entire summer, when people usually like let loose a little bit more, I was my friend's DD. Like I would still go and do things, but I wasn't, and you don't need to drink to have fun. But it's just like, it was so much discipline and saying no to so many things.
Look at that board. Day 4 and 58.
That's awesome.
No, you get judged. I get really judged. Yeah.
I don't know why though.
Well, it's one of those things where people think you have a problem if you don't engage in it. Like they think, like I have never had a problem with alcohol. I just think if I'm going to be great, I can't have that in my system. Yeah. But yeah, go on with your...
No, I just like, I think it's more rewarding like after the fact too. Because the thing with world championships too is like you have all of these like multi-world championship athletes who like train for years for that moment, and then they get that title, and then at the after party, that's when they finally let loose. So it's just like all the training and the hard work, like it pays off. So
like I'm always looking for how can I get that edge? Like I don't know if this is just wishful thinking, but I believe I can do it. I want to run 1,000 kilometers in a row. Like I just know I can do it
in a
like,
row. That's
yeah,
crazy.
just nonstop. I guess I can stop meals here and there and maybe do it for charity, but just that I feel like I could. Like, and how do I get that edge? Okay, it's not smoking weed, it's not vaping, it's not drinking alcohol, it's making sure I get my sleep, it's making sure I'm dialed in, and I want to be the greatest podcaster this world's ever seen. And you know, I used to experience like so much doubt, like like Joe Rogan's already so far up there. Like you got this person's already making so much money. And recently I just went, wait, what the fuck? Like these guys started somewhere and I'm still fairly young. I could be them. What did they do? And so every day I'm listening to 4 hours of podcasts every day while I'm at the gym, while I'm driving to work, before bed, just constant grind, crafting the script, making sure, okay, what am I missing? And on top of that, even on runs, I'm listening to podcasts, music, sometimes, you know, as a reward. But it's just, how can I get that edge, right? Just chasing that, because I really want to leave my mark in this world. And I'm sure you're the same. You want to be the world champion for sparring, yeah? And that's just, yeah, like how do it, like with abstaining from alcohol, it's like, that's that edge right there. Because a person, like this is going back to kind of the fighting and like the losing taken in that loss. Okay, maybe you drank too much alcohol the weekend before. That's a factor. Maybe that fight with your mother who you've been disrespecting for 3 weeks. I got to solve that. Like if I had relationships, friendships that were toxic that I didn't resolve, that's a factor onto why I can't present myself the best onto this podcast. There's always something.
Totally.
Yeah. But did you get a lot of judgment for not drinking alcohol?
No, I think more so it's just like the peer pressure, if anything. People are like, oh, like what's one drink? And I'm like, no.
One drink is everything.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm good. Like it's okay.
Yeah. That's, yeah. Would you say Taekwondo is your life?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think life would be without it?
Really boring, to be honest.
I'm sure you'd probably find a different art style.
I feel like if
style.
I didn't get into Taekwondo, I probably would have ended up in some sort of martial art. But yeah, I'm just like so grateful that I do Taekwondo and I'm at the club that I'm at. Like my club, Kodiak Taekwondo, we just got named like the #1 club in Edmonton.
Congratulations.
For martial arts, which is awesome and crazy.
You're a part of that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just like my coach, Mr. Homewood, he's always working to do better things for our club and like make us grow. And I just think that's so admirable as well. And people like throughout Canada, they're like, why is Kodiak always winning? And I'm like, well, it's because we put in the work.
You got that edge. We're doing something different. Like why? There is a reason. Like there's no coincidence. Like what, we just got lucky. We won that because we got lucky. No. Sweat, blood, tears, late nights, early mornings, never stopping, always mastering the craft.
Yeah.
Is it okay if we take a little break?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I always tell people is, I'm like, don't name drop people, okay? Like, and also make sure that what you say on this podcast, you're not going to regret. Yeah. Like 10 years later when you're trying to get a job and there's clips of you.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people, because some people have, they're like, am I going to post this? And they're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, you sure?
You're like, you positive about that?
Yeah. Okay. So time management in regards to school, work, training, and life. How do you balance the demands of your kinesiology studies with your training and competition schedule?
Right. So I think I've curated a little bit of a plan and a schedule and like how I go about things probably since like 2021 is when I think I got like better at it. So I teach kids Taekwondo. I teach the 4 to 7-year-olds, and that starts at 4:30. Or I leave my house at 4:30. Class starts at 5:30. Sorry?
That young?
Yeah.
I've got a 6-year-old brother, and he's like, I don't know, I think he's like a little bit of a nerd. Like I need to.
I think he should join.
Yeah, I think he should go. How much is it?
100-ish.
$100?
Yeah.
Like
month.
That's with the outfit and everything?
Yeah.
Wow,
you
really?
get a little bag, you get a water bottle, you get some stickers.
Okay. Yeah, I might just chuck him in there.
Yeah, you should.
Show him a little bit of, I don't know.
I would
Make
recommend.
sure to like whoop his ass.
Yeah.
He talks a lot. He talks a lot of shit. Like for a 6-year-old, he's the only one that could talk shit like that to me.
Really?
You know?
You gotta put him in his place.
Yeah, put him in his place and tell him like it's from Advent, your big brother. But yeah, so you teach 4 to 7-year-old like the different techniques and
just like beginner intro stuff. And so that's at about like 5:30 to 6. And then my black belt class starts at 7:30. So between then, when I'm in school is when I study. And then that's every Tuesday, Thursday. Wednesdays, I have sparring class in the evening. So between when I get home from school, depending on how much time I have, I'll like eat, study, do everything I need to do. And some weeks are heavier than other. It kind of just depends on like where my assignments are at, midterms, finals, stuff like that. But for the competition schedule itself, sometimes I just hope that the competition doesn't end on like a weekend where I have a midterm on Monday, which sometimes it does. And that's fine. It's just if it's like a road trip, I'll be studying in the car. I did that this past Westerns traveling to Regina. I had 2 papers that I had to work on. One of them was due on Monday, and then it was just like a group deadline to have a section of the paper due on Monday. So in the car, I'm like doing research, typing out some papers, doing stuff like that just to make sure I can do all these things. Ultimately, it comes down to just like prioritizing. You're going to make time for what you want to do and where you want to go. So this year specifically, I think is going to be a new challenge for me. I am going to take it head on and make everything work the way I want to. I'm going to Argentina for the World Cup for Taekwondo at the end of October. So I needed to take 2 weeks off of my practicum, and they allowed me to do that. I make sure everything was okay. It's kind of going into the slower season for the team that I got. I'm with the varsity rugby team with the U of A. And then a couple weekends later, it's like Western Championships, and you need to go to that one, I'm pretty sure, as well, to get seeding points to maybe get on Team Canada for Croatia the following year. So it's just like balancing school and talking to your professors, and then making sure that in your time away, you're also just like making sure you can still consider doing some school, even though it's hard. When I was in Finland for World Championships, that was like the beginning of school time. So I missed the first 2 weeks of classes. Thankfully, I didn't miss like a crazy amount because it was just like a bunch of review stuff. But I opened up my e-class when I was in Finland thinking like, oh, like I'm going to look at this. It was like the first week of one of my classes was a review stats. And I was like, no, thanks. So I just like kind of focused on the competition more. But yeah, I was just like prioritizing.
If there is a will, there's a way.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people don't give enough credit to the amount of work that they're capable of. Here you are, you're going on these tournaments in a different country, still in university, and still accomplishing the showing up to the tournament and giving it your best. And then on top of this, there's the studying aspect. And I know this firsthand too, where I had gone on vacation and missed 3.5 weeks of school. And still, I wanted to prepare podcasts prior to that. So the week before, I did like 6 podcasts in a row and sectioned them off to be released at a particular date. And on top of that, there's school, still full course load. It's heavy.
Absolutely.
But hey, how are diamonds formed? Right?
Yeah. It just ultimately comes down to like how much you're willing to sacrifice and do so you can do these things, right? So
at the end of the day, if you didn't make it, you took on all these things and you gave it your best. Because then there's also taking them all on and then failing at every single one. Right? You need to be able to be realistic with what you can take on.
Totally.
Like maybe you need to cut down a little bit of the course load. Maybe the training, you need to ease up on it and focus on certain things. There's different strategies for everyone. Because I know people that are ultra like hard focused, like they section their days off to a T and just they're driven and they succeed in every single endeavor. But then there's also people that just focus on one aspect and they got 4.0s and they're just on track to working for like Amazon, Google. Shout out to David Perdell. That guy's like really like amazing.
I ran into him at the grocery store the other day.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yes. I really want him on. Like he's gonna come on in this podcast. I just wonder what makes him tick. But yeah, computer science. I don't get it, but it's just. What strategies do you use to stay organized and manage your time effectively?
Honestly, just like knowing my schedule. So with the job that I have right now, I'm a bartender. It's a very like week by week schedule. So week by week, I figure out kind of like where I can put my time and where I will do like certain things. So when I'm in school, obviously I'm not working 5 days a week. I'm working 1 to 2. So when I'm in school, it's usually the weekends that I have work and then school 5 days a week, training Tuesday, Thursday evenings, hopefully Wednesdays, and then weight training maybe like before school. So I'll wake up that extra time earlier or like after work. So in the summer, I don't have school. So it'll be I either work out before work or after work, or I don't have to worry about it because I have the day off. But ultimately it's just like I get my schedule, I look at the week at the start and I'm like, okay, I can do this day, this day at this time, and kind of sort it out that way. So actually like being able to plan at the beginning of the week or whenever you got your schedule really helps me with my time management. And I guess that's kind of just how I conquer that as a whole.
Yeah. You already know your schedule 3 days before, 4 days a week in advance, say, and you said it's sectioned off the bartending schedule and 2 weeks prior?
Yeah, it's like 2 to 3 weeks in advance we get our schedule.
And then you could just block that off. And then the exams, you already have that in place, the training, and it all just falls into place. And it's like clockwork. But yeah, I think scheduling is just so imperative if you want to be able to not feel lost, because organization, right? Ensuring that your values, your actions align with your values. And okay, what does this mean? It means that, okay, I need to make money. I also need to train. I need to study. Okay, which time of the month is it? January, okay, Feb, March, there's school. But then what about when you're off school? You need to fill that time. Do you want to feel closer to your family, your friends? Okay, give more time with them. Do you want to get better at Taekwondo, master this move? Section off for time for there. Every day, there's always something, right? To get closer to the best possible version that you can be. How do you ensure you have time for rest and recovery amidst your busy schedule?
I think it comes down to like, even if I don't have a full rest day of like everything off, I still need to set aside like at least an hour just to like chill, an actual like rest and recovery day, like we kind of touched on earlier, is just like really hard for me just because I like to always be busy, and with such a busy schedule, it seems rare that I even get one sometimes. And my parents are always like, are you ever going to be home? Like, can you take a rest day? Like, just chill out for a little bit. And I'm like, I'm fine. But I think the hardest part about it, and it's just like, it will continue to be a work in progress for me, because realistically, with everything that I do, and I like to do it, I like to be busy, I like to have all of these things, but I could hit burnout at any point. And so I think penciling in that time to actually have the rest and recovery that I need, and just like relax and take time for myself, rest my body, rest my mind, I need to get better at. And so a day that I'm not necessarily training as heavy, so usually like on a weekend, so like Sunday, Monday, I feel like are the 2 days where I have like the least amount of things going on. So those are the days where I typically like take more time for myself.
You mentioned burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have it often?
Absolutely. Yeah. Burnout is definitely a thing that I have struggled with, and it usually hits November-ish for sure, which is like midterm season. And then February as well. I feel like those are 2 common months for everyone where you're just like peak stress, like it's getting cold, it's not the greatest vibes out, and it's just like it's hard. But I'm like continually going like 12 months out of the year. And then when more things additionally get added onto my plate, which typically happen around those 2 months, it just like I hit a point and it's just like hard. You know, it's harder to be motivated. It's harder to do these things. I will still continue to do them and find a way, but it's just like it drags more.
What's kind of the antidote for you?
Rest and recovery.
Because for me, I think when I do hit the burnouts, and I actually just hit one recently, I woke up looking at the ceiling. I'm depleted of energy. I don't want to podcast. I don't want to run. I don't even want to go outside, but I just get up and I just do it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that action aspect, I don't know if it's helpful for many people, but for me personally, that's kind of like putting my body and mind into overdrive.
Totally. Yeah.
That's
like
what's given me, because then I just forget about it and go,
yeah.
Okay, anytime I hit a burnout, I'll just hit a 10K.
Yeah.
No, really.
Yeah.
Like, and that seems to do the job. Then I'm like, okay, now I want to do the podcast. Now I want to read a book.
Yeah.
Now I want to get after it. Does that
Totally. Yeah.
resonate?
You do like you hit burnout, but then you distract yourself from burnout from doing things. And like maybe you pull back a little bit from certain things so you don't like go into a depressive state. But I do think just like keeping busy does help with that, as like contradictory as that kind of sounds, but I do think it helps. I also just like an escape to the mountains, or like going to BC,
Nature.
doing like a little
Beautiful.
baby trip. Nature is super helpful with that. Yeah,
there's a lot of studies where nature actually grounds you, reduces the cortisol levels in your body, helps you feel more connected, reduces all depressive symptoms. And yeah, I think that's a little bit of like full disclosure. Like for me, I do not recommend anyone do that what I do, because I certainly don't think that is healthy.
Yeah,
because you need to. I think what I'd recommend to people though is like mindfulness, meditation, like focusing on your breath and like really talking to people, like socialization, and then going to the mountains. And because we live in a very like in a hustle culture,
we do.
And that's the price we have to pay.
Yeah.
You had mentioned going to the mountains. Let's talk about traveling. What has been your most memorable travel experience related to your Taekwondo career?
I feel like there's so many to pull from and pick from, but my first World Championships in Germany definitely was an incredible experience. So we went to this little town called Ruhpolding, and I like to say it's like the little Jasper of Germany, except way less touristy.
What's the town called?
Ruhpolding.
Roop Holding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Gorgeous little town. That's where Team Canada stayed. It was great. And then the actual competition itself was in Insel, which was like a 45-minute bus ride away. But you were in the mountains. It was so peaceful. It was a nice place to stay in that wasn't like super busy, and it was away. So you kind of get like that relaxing aspect as well. I really can't complain about any of the places that I've been to for Taekwondo. I'm so grateful and like that I had that privilege to go. And so just like the experience as a whole going, it was super incredible. But the thing about traveling for Taekwondo as well is just like it's strictly business until the competition is over, right? So as much as like, yeah, you're given like a little bit of time to go off and do your own thing, it's just like you're focusing on your training, you're focusing on preparing for the competition so you can be in the mindset and be focused for the competition. If you want to, you can take the time after and explore once the competition is over. So there's that as well. And I do like to take that extra time after, like you're going to a different country. I'd like to see a little bit of it. So taking that time after the tournament is done and exploring a little bit is always super special.
You think you would have developed this interest in traveling if it wasn't for Taekwondo?
Oh, for sure. My family, I have had the opportunity to go to a couple other places too before traveling for Taekwondo. So before I went to Germany, I was 17 for that one. And before that, like me and my family, we went to Sweden, Italy, Ireland, Mexico, a couple places in the States. So I wasn't new to traveling before it, but it definitely has broadened the horizon and opportunity to travel more for me, which is really incredible.
And that's awesome that you guys established first that, hey, we go there, different country. The mind isn't to explore the country. Well, that's something you want to do because even arriving there, you drive into the place where you're staying at and everything's so novel and everything's so special. But then it's like, no, it's game time. I need to be able to put my head down and think about the fight. Then after, that's when you celebrate.
Yeah.
Or grief because you lost.
Right.
You know? But still, how do you manage to keep up with your training routine while traveling for competitions?
It depends on kind of like where we're put at for an accommodation type thing. So in Germany, there's always, for Team Canada, there's always scheduled training sessions. And so we do those. Weight training is basically taken out of the equation when you go. You don't really want to be taxing your body that much that close to competition anyway. But in Germany, we did trainings on a field, which was super fun. And we trained as a team. Paddles and like shields to hit stuff with were brought, and we would do that. And then in Finland, both of the accommodations that we stayed in, there were gyms. So that was super cool. And we got an opportunity to go there. But like me and my team, we would run around the hotel, run stairs, practice patterns in a field or a parking lot, do those types of things. And then the Team Canada training in Finland, like they set out this bunker for us, and it was so cool. It was just like this underground tunnel thing, and then each country was allotted a time, and there was curtains, and it was really hot and sweaty down there, but it was so cool to train with your team and do all of that. So there is time allotted to train, but it's just like you also want to make sure you're not training on a super high intense level because you don't want to get hurt or like anything before you actually get onto the mats and compete.
That's fascinating. In the bunker, hey, I can just picture
so
how many
cool.
of you are there.
Oh gosh, I think this year there was like 38 of us. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
and it's like a whole party in there.
Yeah.
It's like not only are you getting better physically, but like you're getting connected more, and then you get to just relax and then just, well, at the same time, engage in good mental and physical health recovery. I'm sure you guys keep it light because it's close to the competition. And,
then Finland's a big sauna country. So after the training, you just hit the saunas after and relax the muscles.
They love their cold showers there too.
Yep.
Yeah. I've been those Finland guys. They love
just the cold and heat exposures.
Yeah,
Hey,
they really do.
yeah, I always see those videos of Wim Hof as well.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
a big guy into that. I don't know how they can survive that long.
Yeah, I don't know.
What are some lessons you've learned from traveling that have influenced your personal and professional life?
I'd say organization and independence for sure. In regards to like my professional life, you really want to be organized when you travel. Like, and you might not always have a plan on what you want to do next when you travel, but you need to get from point A to point B somehow. So whether that be like transit or actually booking the flights, all of that stuff. When we went to Finland, I booked our first hotel. I booked an Airbnb, and then that Airbnb ended up being really not great. And so we had to leave that Airbnb and go to a different hotel at like 1 a.m. in the morning. And so I had to deal with getting a refund and all of that. And so like that builds onto like just like talking to people and like standing your ground and like making sure that you can still get all of these things in a country that's not your own. So I'd say that like more professionally and just being able to deal with situations, but personally and just like aside from the Taekwondo traveling that I've done, just being able to take a step back and take a moment and take everything in is like something that I have taken away from traveling that I think is so important. When me and my family went to Italy, my favorite place that we went to was Cinque Terre. And my favorite memories from that was just like cliff jumping or sitting in the water or sitting watching the sunset with a gelato and just like taking in the culture, taking in the people, the view, everything. Like Cinque Terre, I think, was the place where we actually took a step back and like relaxed a little bit more, because every other place we were like, go, go, go. And I love that. Like I will probably never stop doing that, but I also just think it's really important to actually take in what you're doing and like relax. You don't always have to be on the move. When we were in Rome, we were always on the move. And all I wanted to do at one point was just sit in the cafe and like look out onto the Roman Colosseum, because it's just like right there in the middle. And
You need to bring that back.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I think with a lot of people don't get about traveling, for people that don't plan it out themselves, it's very stressful. And
Oh, for sure.
like, sure, you see the pictures, right? Aha, it's all happy. A great deal of it is, okay, is this the right terminal?
Yeah.
I'm at the wrong terminal. I got 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss it. Okay, where is this? I don't know if you're, for the average person to save money, you can't be flying business class. You can't be flying first class.
Yeah.
So the seats are cramped up
Oh,
on the way to the destination. And it's like it's a headache, and like you don't know, is the food even right? Your circadian rhythm's all
Yeah, you're
jumbled.
jet lagged. You're like,
you need to stretch. What's that cramp right there? The people around you are in a bad mood because they're also going through the wrong thing, and getting into fights is just increased because everybody's just really stressed out and not enough sleep, and they're sore. But then it's taking that moment once you're finally there and they go, wow, look at that Roman Colosseum. I wish they'd bring that back. You know, like I've seen a bunch of movies on like the Gladiators, one of my really good movie that I just like, wow, like this is where Marcus Aurelius, the fourth emperor of Rome, decided if this fighter would kill the other fighter by either doing this or that with their thumb. It's like, and then you see the lean. Why does it lean like that? You know, the leaning tower of
Pisa.
Yeah. And it's just, it all comes together.
Yeah.
And which is your favorite country, just aside from all the tournament, to be in? If you could live in any country, no money involved, just live there.
Ooh. I honestly, I would put Italy pretty high on that list, but I would probably say New Zealand. I've never been. I really want to go. A plane ticket there is like $3,000. so we'll not be going anytime soon. But it just looks so incredible. I love the ocean. They have the mountains, they have the volcanoes. It just like looks like such a luscious, incredible place. They have I hear a lot of things about like skydiving and bungee jumping there, and that's something that I really want to do as well.
And you also have to take into account if they have a Taekwondo culture, because that's
They
something. They do?
They do.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, there we go.
I love the New Zealand's. So, when we both in Germany and Finland, I met a bunch of New Zealand athletes, and they're just so awesome. They're so cool, and they always come up and talk to you too. They're so friendly. It's just like, yeah, awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, it has been a pleasure talking to you on the long-term podcast. Anikah Woodrow, everyone, is there any last words to the listeners, viewers who want to take up Taekwondo or are feeling lost? They want to give the art a try.
If you're feeling lost, keep pushing. You got it. If you want to try out Taekwondo, come to Kodiak. We'd love to have you. I'd love to coach you. Number one dojo in Edmonton.
Dojo. That's awesome.
Or martial art club, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as always, to everyone listening and watching, there is a place for you in this chaotic world. Never lose hope, strengthen your faith, and keep it long term. Peace.